Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another ugly bug fishing report with Dustin White. How's it going, Dustin?
Marvin, we are doing well, albeit pretty balmy here in central Wyoming.
Yeah, that dry heat, as they like to say, right?
Dry or not, it's definitely hot out this time of year. So we're it's per the usual, but it is definitely hot out.
Yeah, so, just if folks haven't looked at your weather, I mean, you're basically in the 90s for the foreseeable future. And,
Yeah.
And
it's been mid upper 90s for, a good solid week or two now. And it's going to be hanging around for a while.
Yeah. And I would imagine, too, that what that means is like late in the afternoon, it gets pretty windy.
Yeah, and a lot of times you kind of welcome it. And like a lot of times that breeze is actually, a lot of times earlier in the season you get that wind coming and folks trying to cast, trying to us trying to row a boat, you kind of roll your eyes at the wind. But when it's this warm out, you welcome it.
Yeah. And so, obviously when you start getting into the dog days of summer in the Rocky Mountain West, it usually means hoppers. Are you seeing hoppers yet?
Yeah, especially on the Bighorn. So in Third Mop, we're really starting to see the hoppers show up and have some productive fishing. They still haven't, here on the North Platte, still haven't quite made their way down in droves yet to the riverbanks as of yet, but they are making their way down, and so we're counting down the days for that.
Yeah, got it. And, every place is different. So what do Wyoming hoppers look like in terms of size and color?
Yeah, we get some variation, but they're going to be more golden in color. Size wise, they can be. We have small ones that might be 3/4 of an inch, all the way up to hoppers that are flirting with the 2-inch mark. But generally a little over an inch, 1.25 is kind of the average. I would say that most of ours are. But in terms of like selection of color, time of the day of the hopper we're actually using, we might have some that are more golden yellow, a little more natural to what we're seeing. Some of the most productive patterns are actually have pink colors in them, and again, depends on lighting and a few of those things, and just trying to make sure they're visible for the fish to see, and just pound the banks with them. But generally speaking, that 1.25 or so is about the size that most of our hoppers are.
Yeah, I would probably, I guess I'll date myself. I'll go ahead and do it and say, I love a bubblegum Fat Albert.
Yeah, we've got a few different patterns here that are tried and true, and like a lot of fly patterns, some of them might not have the most family friendly names given to them, but those are some of our favorites here that we use. But when those fish are really, really looking up for them, just about anything's going to work. We oftentimes like to tie our hoppers, because a lot of the hoppers that fish take tend to spin, tend to rotate. They're trying to get out of the water. And so I'll tie mine with a non-slip mono loop or a Duncan loop, just to give that a little more movement as it skates on the water, and it tends to yield some positive results from fish.
Yeah. And do you guys ever like to sink them?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, and what we'd like to do is some of them, the back end of it, as they ride a little lower in the water, some of the patterns that we use, actually the back end of the hopper rides low in the water. And that, is very, very effective means of getting eats from the fish as well. So when that's riding, maybe just a 1/2 inch to an inch below the water, maybe even sometimes 2 inches below the water on the back end of it, on the larger ones, again, a lot of times that can yield results from the fish.
Yeah, got it. So, I know when hoppers happen, it can kind of become the only game in town. Is that really dominating the fishing on the Bighorn?
Well, you can still have success right now nymphing, but this time of year, the Bighorn especially gets quite mossy. And so the hopper game is not the only thing, but if you're trying to throw streamers or nymphs through a lot of that suspended moss, you can get, yes, we can still have some great success, but it, also brings a bit extra frustration as well. So the hopper game kind of avoids, a lot of the moss that's suspended in the water column right now. So is it the only game? by no means, but it is one that you can save yourself a little heartache, frustration of kind of having your flies or your streamers gummed up with moss.
Yeah, well, you sold me. And as we kind of come a little bit closer back to town, what are you seeing on the Reef and the Mile?
So the Mile right now, they've just dropped our flows down to 530. And with this heat, that's really not great for fish to be fishing, especially once the heat of the day kind of kicks in. So, we really, most of our guides are tending to, avoid the Mile or maybe just fishing it early in the morning and then scooting over to another section of town. Just with the flows that low and air temps and water temps coming up, we really are trying to take care of our fish and not put any undue pressure on them. In terms of the Reef's at 3,000 and it is fishing remarkably well. So, if folks are going to be nymphing, PMDs are still really, really solid choice. Caddis, fish are really eating yellow sallies really good right now. And so folks that are, going to come out nymph, a smattering of those patterns are going to be effective. And then east through town has been really dynamic streamer fishing. Had some really good streamer days the last 2 weeks, kind of floating lower section in through town and even east of town.
Very, very neat. And that dovetails really well. We've got our first question of the season, Dustin.
Awesome.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So Tyler wanted to know, what is matching the hatch? How does that apply not to dry fly fishing, but, when you're picking your streamers?
Yeah. For us, we do want to be somewhere in the ballpark of what these fish are actually going to be seeing, So, we don't have here in the North Platte, much sculpin, in the water. And so we don't really fish too many sculpin patterns or that sort of thing. So we're trying to have streamer sizes that are appropriate to the size bait fish that the big predatory fish are keyed in on. In terms of color, I think it's relative to the clarity of the water, and so we had a few days of despite the heat and despite the dry heat, we have had a decent amount of rain, which has put some turbidity, some sediment in the water. So with that, we go bigger, a little brighter for those fish to see, instead of, for example, more muted olive or tan color. So we're going to go a little brighter with that. But, Marvin, at the end of the day, I really think that beyond the obvious of having something in the ballpark of what streamer is going to be closest to the bait fish, it really does come down to how you actually swim that streamer pattern. Strip cadence, the movement it has, really is, in my opinion, more essential than being an exact replica, of a small bait fish that they might be seeing or frying in the water.
Yeah, got it. And I remember too from earlier conversations that you really like to fish tandems with like a big streamer with a small streamer trailer.
Yeah. A lot of times, although the last streamer trip I did, just out of kind of necessity of where we were at, we were only throwing one bug and worked really well. But a lot of times, yes, we'll throw that tandem pattern with a smaller streamer with a little bigger, pattern with some more articulation behind it. And again, it's really fun just to see, in doing that, which one of those fish are really keen in on. Are they keen in on the smaller pattern, or are they really trying to get ambitious and go for some meat? And, day to day, that can differ. A lot of times you can have more success with the larger pattern, but there's some days where, man, they just want to eat a small little, crystal, bugger or a little thin mint that more of a smaller bugger sort of style pattern. And then other days they want the big stuff. So that kind of gives us, opportunity to kind of really dial in on a particular section, what the fish are wanting to eat.
Yeah, very neat. And, folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly. You can email them to us. You can DM us on social media. You can drop them in the comments to our social media posts, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I will send you some Articulate Fly swag. And we're in your drawing for a super cool tailwater box, right? I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Dustin.
Yeah, we are hand selecting at our shop at the Ugly Bug. An assortment of different flies, both nymphs, dry flies, and streamers that are North Platte and Bighorn favorites. But as we've talked about before, Marvin, they will be a really good addition to anyone who's fishing tailwaters. And we think that there might be some bugs in there that a lot of folks, if they're not familiar with fishing here in around the Casper area, might discover some new bugs that they fall in love with.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, too, folks, remember, if we don't select your question, if you just walk in the shop and say, hey, we listen to the fishing report, you're going to get 10% off of your purchase. And, before I let you go, I know you got a softball game coming up, Dustin. You want to let folks know shop hours, location, and all that great stuff, and how to book a trip with Crazy Rainbow?
Yep, we're open Monday through Saturday. We're right downtown Casper, Wyoming. We open up at 10 a.m. We're open till 6 through the week and 4 on Saturdays. Folks want to book a trip with us, you can give us a call at area code 307-234-6905.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Dustin.
Tight lines, Marvin. Thanks so much.